Patience comes to those who wait. If your nose runs and your feet smell, you were built upside down. When I was on the radio in the 1980s, my signature comedy bit was the show credits, and it always ended with some pithy, ridiculous observation, like, "He who laughs last missed the joke." One of my favorite ones was, "You are unique, just like everyone else." And that's actually a quote from Margaret Mead, who was an anthropologist. And she actually said, "Always remember that you are absolutely unique, just like everyone else." And she was sarcastic about that. She's an anthropologist, but she's pretty smart and pretty funny. And she was pointing out the truth about us, that we are each unique, and everybody is too. The good news there is that there is a combination of skills and talents and abilities and characteristics and perspectives that we bring that are unique to us, that make us one of a kind. And there's nobody else who has exactly the same combination. There are 8 billion people on the planet right now, and only one, you. We've heard the term 1 in a million. Well, that means just in the United States, there'd be 330 people just like you. And in China, there would be 1 million. What makes you unique? What is that gift that makes you who you are? What are those combinations? What are the different aspects of possibility that make you unique? Somebody's on a scale from shy to boisterous, introvert to extrovert. So, and very few people are all the way on one end or the other. So that's one of the characteristics that we have. Some people are very competitive. Some people are not competitive at all. And it's not like one is good and one is bad. Those are simply characteristics. In 2007, I was working for a company, and the guy who ran the company had this goal. Actually, when I went to work for him, when we hit a certain sales target, he was going to buy himself a Jaguar. And then my partner on the sales team convinced him that since Ford had bought Jaguar, it was just like getting a Taurus. Really messed with his head. So he decided he was going to get a Maserati. And in 2007, he got himself a Maserati. And he was delighted. And I remember him telling me that when you buy a Maserati, when one buys a Maserati, I am not going to buy a Maserati, and you don't need to either. But when somebody buys a Maserati, there are about 137,000 possible combinations of the model and the paint and the interior and the thing and the this and the that. And 137,000 combinations to make each of those cars exactly right for the particular driver that it was going to have. Did I care? Well, I cared enough to remember the statistic, and I would imagine that there are some combinations of Maserati that nobody would ever order. And there are other combinations that get bought a whole lot. But the interesting thing is that with all of that variety that's possible, it takes it away from this is what it's going to be, to there being possibilities. There are different possibilities. So what are the gifts and talents that make you you? What is it that you're bringing that no one else is bringing? You know, some of the other characteristics are, some people love to dance. Some people do not like to dance. Some people are singers or writers or poets. I myself am a writer. I am not a poet. Every once in a while I can do a poetry thing, but it comes out pretty childish. I once wrote a poem without the word Nantucket in it. I was very proud of myself. Maybe you're a hobbyist. There's something that you enjoy doing. Maybe you're outdoorsy. Or maybe you're not. And it's not like you can say, oh, outdoorsy people are better, or people who are bookish are better. We're different. We're unique. We have different perspectives. We have different ways of approaching the world. Some people are very plain. Some people are very fancy and stylish. And there's some drama. When the plain people walk down the red carpet, no one cares. The stylish people are something to talk about. So it's just something to talk about. But it's not like they're inherently better people. They just bring something different to it. understanding what our gifts are, understanding what the talents are that we bring, and then understanding that other people don't have the same talent, don't have the same gifts, don't have the same combination that we have, is tremendously empowering. There are so many ways that we can bring ourselves to a situation and share those gifts in a way that's going to bring some good into the world. Understanding that other people have different gifts and other people don't have the gifts that we have, that's compassion. That's understanding. That's empathy. That's the ability to understand that where I'm looking from is different than where you're looking from. It doesn't make me any better, it just makes me over here. Some people are scared to death of speaking in public. It turns out people are more scared of speaking in public than dying. Really? I could never understand that. I'm okay speaking in public. I once had somebody ask me, it was in the practitioner group of my church at the time, if I'm nervous speaking in front of a big group of people. And she forgot about the background that I had in the radio. And I said, yeah, sometimes. It depends on the size of the group. And she's like nodding along. And I say, once there's more than about 150,000 people, I start to second guess myself. And it was like playing a high-pitched noise in front of a puppy as she turned her head, because she didn't get it. Because I'm okay with that. And the reason that I start to second guess myself at 150,000 people is if I waste a minute, that's a lot of person time. You can waste time at great volumes. So I want to make sure that what I'm bringing and what I'm offering, and because I'm asking all of those people to pay attention to me, that I really want to bring some value to them. And that's different for me than it is for other people. And understanding that some people are terrified to speak in front of a big group of people, and big to them is 7. You get more than 6 people and they start choking up. And that's okay, because that's who they are. And if you're one of those people, that's okay. You want to change that? You can. You can join Toastmasters and learn to speak in front of people. And if you want to just say, I don't like speaking in front of people, I'm going to go to Toastmasters and listen to other people. Or I'm going to go to the comedy club and listen to somebody else, because I don't have any interest in being on the platform. And stop judging yourself for thinking that because you don't want to do things that other people want to do, that you're not having success in the way that other people are defining success, that it's not good enough. You are unique, just like everyone else. Cliches are a dime a dozen. Nepotism is okay as long as you keep it in the family. My favorite one for New Jersey, 2 wrongs don't make a right, but 3 rights make a left. There's a thing called imposter syndrome, where somebody asks us to do something, and for some reason we're supposed to be able to do this, and we get the terrifying feeling of, I'm not the person who can answer this question, I can't do this, that's wrong, everybody's looking up to me, and I don't have it. I'm not that person. That is completely normal. When we are called upon to share the unique gifts and skills and talents that we have, to bring ourselves into a situation or a circumstance or an experience in a particular way, it can be terrifying, especially the first time that we do it. I spent some time doing consulting in the printing industry. And every once in a while I would be called into a printing or a publishing or an ad agency or some sort of company like that where they're struggling and having some difficulty. And I was the expert from out of town who was going to tell them how to fix things. And there were times when I thought, who am I to tell these people at this company that's been in business for 187 years how to do their business? But then I go back to basics. What are the gifts and skills and talents and perspectives that I have? I knew something about their business. I knew something about the technology that was changing their business. I knew about the possibilities and the challenges that they were facing. And so I would just take a deep breath. We'd start talking about what they've been doing, what they want to be doing, and work out a plan. And it turns out I was pretty good at it. And I could tell that I was pretty good at it because nobody chased me out of the building. Nobody ever asked my company for their money back. And the companies that I did the consulting for made it into the next generation of their business. People in the public had no idea. For example, one of the clients that we worked with was LL Bean. And they'd been producing catalogs for a very long time. And they had their way of producing catalogs. And then this brand new fangled desktop publishing technology came along. And they're going to have to get rid of their waxers and X-Acto knives where they're doing their paste up by hand and do it using computers. Well, it was terrifying. They didn't know what they were doing. We didn't really know what they were doing, but we figured out what they were doing, what they needed to continue doing, and helped them keep putting out the catalog so that everybody who was getting the LL Bean catalog didn't notice that there was a complete disruption and a complete change in the way that that was happening. So when that fear of fraud or imposter syndrome comes along, we can settle in and understand that we have that combination of gifts and skills and talents. You are unique, just like everyone else. And there's something that you're bringing to the situation. There's the possibility for there to be good here. It is also possible that we are very busy being an example to other people of what not to do. So allowing ourselves to partner with the infinite, to say, yes, this is a good idea, to not let our ego be in charge and say, I thought of this. This must be my gifts and skills and talents. I must be the person to make the world's first plastic bicycle. There was somebody who did that. Sold one to my brother. They never manufactured them because it's a bad idea. If it's a good idea, the infinite will find lots of little ways to remind you that it's a good idea. If it's not a good idea, and you are open to the possibility of being guided, then all sorts of stuff will show up to let you second guess yourself and say, you know what, there's a better way for me to be this gift that I am. In my late 20s and early 30s, my family had a lot of financial struggles. We didn't have 2 nickels to rub together when we had to come for a funeral, a family member. It was like the big struggle was how are we going to get time off work and how are we going to get the money for the airfare to come for the visit. And that sort of thing isn't an issue anymore because there's growth and transformation that has happened. I've had 9 careers. I mean, I'm telling you about the one that I had doing comedy on the radio. You know, a litigator, for example, is a slimy reptile that crawls out of a swamp and into a courtroom. Manners are the noises that you don't make while eating soup. And if ignorance isn't bliss, I don't know what is. So I had a job. I got paid to go on the radio and be funny, even funnier than that. And then I stopped doing that. And then I started doing something else. And then I stopped doing that and I started doing something else. And changing and changing and changing. 9 different careers that I've been able to count. And now minister and public speaker. And it's not like this is the only purpose for which I was put on earth. I have a lot of skills, creative skills, technical skills, spiritual insights. I got an email from a friend of mine that said that he and his partner had been listening to the Practical Prayer podcast on a car trip. And he was very impressed by the way that I was explaining and presenting the New Thought teaching. And I thought, wow, that's really cool. And it was especially cool because it was John Carn, who's the Dean of Students at Emerson Theological Institute. So high praise coming from me. And I'm not doing it so that people praise me. I'm doing it because that is a gift that I have. That is an ability that I have. It's an opportunity for me to share it. So that's what I do. Everyone has the best thing that ever happened to them. And everyone has the worst thing that ever happened to them. It does not make any sense to compare your best or your worst with somebody else's best or their worst. Because we are all in a different place, having a different perspective and a different experience. Their worst might mean something different to them than it means to you. Their best might have been nothing as far as they're concerned, but it's just really impressive for you. Because when we're evaluating somebody else from our perspective, we call that judgment. It doesn't help. It doesn't help. especially when we think that the circumstances, the way that we've been going through our lives, make us less than, make us victims. I know a lot of people who have been victim to circumstance, to abuse, to poverty, to illness, to not having enough. And that's all very real. But victim is not an identity. Victim is a title. Yeah, that's part of my past. That's something that I've experienced. That's who I am. That has made me who I am. But I don't need to live under that title for my entire life. There's more. There are different axes. There are different ranges where I can go from shy to boisterous. So what are your talents? What are you bringing? What are the gifts and skills and abilities that make you uniquely you? Last one. Don't worry about your health. If you wait long enough, it'll go away. What are you bringing to the table? And by the way, the biggest challenge here is that it's not always obvious. When I was growing up, I was really good with technology and I was also very creative. And I thought that was a pretty common combination. And you know what? It turns out it's not. It turns out that's a pretty unusual combination. To be able to bring the technical perspective and understanding about how the pieces fit together and also have that creative streak. There's a bunch of stuff that I'm really no good at. And I now know how to freely acknowledge those. And somebody says, you want to do this? It's like, nope, that's not my thing. And some things that I used to not do because I wasn't good at, now I do because they're fun. And I'm still not very good at it. And it doesn't matter. It's about being authentically yourself, understanding what those gifts and skills and talents that you have are. What is that superpower that you have within you? And it's not just one thing, it's a whole bunch of different things that make you uniquely you. What's it going to take to reveal that truth, to share that gift with the world, and to be the superhero that you are? Because we all can. You are the best, you are super, so it is.